Good morning, everybody. It's about 7 a.m. on a cloudy, foggy morning here in Ecuador's Amazon region. 850 meters above sea level, 3 degrees south of the equator in southeast Ecuador. So, here I am growing some Mysore Raspberry. This is a variety of black raspberry that originates from the Mysore region of India. To my knowledge, it's the only known raspberry variety that produces well in the humid tropics. Now I know there are raspberries can produce in subtropical climates, like in South Florida, for example, where there's a few days of freezing temperatures every year, and where I lived in Naples. There raspberries can grow, but here they usually just don't grow because they have a chill requirement, or rather they might grow for a bit and then they won't fruit and then they'll die or something like that. So Mysore raspberry is pretty special. But like any raspberry, you kind of have to take care of it. And so here we have, every 8 meters, we have a cement post. And that cement post we made ourselves. It has 3 pieces of 8mm rebar inside it with a little triangular cage made to keep its strength. It doesn't break. And then we have a metal frame on top with a piece of galvanized pipe. We're not using wood posts because they rot in the ground. And we're not using a living tree post because I don't want to wait 3 years to start planting raspberries. I want them now. So instant gratification. We got this cement and then we strung thick galvanized wire in between the posts, 2 rows of wire. So the idea is that the raspberry is going to grow up in the middle and come over both sides of the post. And branches are going to go in both directions. And you see that happening. The branches are coming up and around. And once they get to about this, you see this branch right here? It's starting to go towards the ground. I don't want that because it's going to take root in the ground and shoot up more raspberries, and there's going to be this huge thicket of raspberries that I can't even get into and harvest the raspberries. And the other thing is they like to fruit at the tips of the branches. So if there's not any tips because they're all growing into the ground, we're going to get 1/10 of the amount of raspberries or less. So I'm going to come and prune it. Recently it's been giving me huge amounts of growth, so I have to prune it. I have to come and cut it about here or here. Basically just after it comes off of this wire. After it comes down a bit, then I prune it and cut it, and then it shoots off some new tips, and eventually the tips fruit, all right? Or it fruits right away. So you can see it's starting to fruit here. There's a bunch of red fruits in there, but we know those aren't ready to pick because these are black raspberries, not red raspberries, but there's a whole bunch. I was putting, oh yeah, the other thing about pruning at the tips as they come down from the wire, that allows us to actually weed whack or machete underneath there. So there's not a whole bunch of weeds growing up around the plants, right? It also allows us to put in compost manure. So basically I've been putting maybe a bucket of manure on each like kind of spot where there's a bunch of plants coming out of the ground. Was doing that every few months, and right when I saw it set a bunch of fruit, which is basically right after I pruned it for the second time, it started setting a massive amount of fruit. Then I kind of put a side dressing. I came along here and I sprinkled organic thermophosphate with trace minerals, which is a pretty amazing product. So it's very similar to rock dust in its composition. I sprinkled that along, and after I did that, the fruit set increased greatly. I'm not sure if it's because of that or if that was already going to happen, but I'm pretty sure adding that helped quite a lot. So I'm going to eat that raspberry now. It's pretty delicious. I see another one down here. Yeah, I haven't really seemed to encounter any pests yet. Every once in a while, the birds take one, or the wasps take one, but not really in huge amounts. So, and also probably because the red ones are too hard and sour for them, so they don't even bother. And once they turn black, they don't really see them anymore from the sky. So maybe that's why why they're protected. So been harvesting large amounts. I can't get my camera to focus. Been harvesting large amounts from this plant, and they're pretty delicious. Pretty nice black raspberries. So if anyone's interested in growing Mysore raspberry, definitely give it a try. When we tried it many years ago, like 5-6 years ago at Terra Frutis, nearby here, we didn't really give it much effort, you know. Back then we were still of the opinion of, oh, you just stick stuff in the ground and let it grow and you'll have food. But really there's all this work that goes into it. You have to really take care of things. All these plants evolved with us taking care of them, not just off in the wild by themselves. So, yeah, a little bit of work, and we got the Mysore raspberry to actually produce good fruits. Here is a disaster zone right now. I definitely got to prune this because this is going to go crazy. It's shooting off along the ground here. So hopefully today I'll get a chance, or if not today, tomorrow we'll come along and prune everything like that. It's trying to go crazy here. Yeah, this is also kind of a nice natural fence. Like no one can make it through here. There's so many thorns on this thing, and it's right on the downhill side to the cabin that I'm gonna be hopefully living in soon. So yeah, people won't be able to like come up the hill escondido, you know. They'll get obstructed by the raspberry vines fence that I have in their way. So if these go well for another 6 months or so, then I'm gonna probably plant another trellis of these because they seem to be producing very heavily right now.